Hey everyone, this is Alfred from The Prompted, and let's grow your Shopify store. Today we're looking at AI agents again, and this time we've got one that will help you save time on one of the most important actions you can do for your store, and that's to load Facebook ads. So this agent is geared towards those of you who are already using Facebook ads, and if you aren't, you might want to put some budget towards it. Yes, they've gotten more expensive over the years, but in our opinion, it's still the best place to spend your advertising budget to grow and scale your store, once you've learned a few core concepts. One of those concepts is the quantity of ad creatives that you're putting out. We believe in taking more shots on goal, so that means that the more ad creatives you put out, the better chance you'll have at finding a winner. And finding winners can be the difference between a business that thrives and one that goes out of business. Obviously, it's not just about quantity. The quality of the ad is just as important, but we'll save that for another video. Now, because we want to be testing more and creating more ads, this means there's a lot of work in loading those ads into the Facebook Ads Manager. And that involves a long series of clicks to create campaigns, ad sets, budgets, individual ads, and adjusting all the settings, putting in the copy, setting the images, adding the links, and so on. All of this is a whole bunch of button clicking after you've already come up with all of your marketing ideas. So let's say you have 30 ads that you want to load up into different campaigns and ad sets. Whether you're doing this yourself or you've hired a media buyer, this could take hours to do. So that's where the Facebook Ads Loading Agent comes in. It lets us compress that time down to just a few minutes. So if you're doing this every day, just imagine how much money and time you're saving. So if that sounds interesting, then stick around because I'm going to show you a demo of this agent in action, and then I'll show you how we built it in N8N. Before we start, keep in mind this agent is just for loading ads. If you want to track the performance, then we put out a different video where we showed you how you can set up an agent that gives you a high-level summary of your store's ad performance directly in Slack. So check that video out once you're done here. We'll link it below. And if you really want to take your Shopify store to the next level, then check out our free email newsletter. It's where we share our favorite growth strategies and show you more agents like the one in this video. And if you're looking for more personalized help from us, we also share info on how you can work with us. But all right, let's take a look at this Facebook Ads Loading Agent. Okay, so this is our AI agent to load up Facebook ads. And we'll talk a little bit about the agent first, and then I'll show you it working in action. So what we have here is we've connected it to Slack so that we can chat with it in Slack directly, right? So we can give it some actions, we can chat with it, we can tell it what to do, and that will trigger the agent to start working for us. Now, the agent is connected to two tools. So basically, we have two actions here. One is to load up the images into Facebook, and then we can use those images then to create our ads. And so those are the two sub workflows here that are set as tools. So this one here, to upload images to Facebook, that's this workflow right here. So we've built out this workflow to perform that specific function. And then we have a second workflow here, which is to create all of the campaigns, the ad sets, and the ads. And we built out a separate workflow, which looks like this right here. And so this is what's going on under the hood for these two tools. Now, we'll get into a little bit more detail on how we put all that together. But for now, why don't we try it out? So the first thing we need to do when we're creating Facebook ads is we need to kind of have our ad creative, right? So that will include some imagery, right? Normally we have some image to go along with copy. So those two things are really important. And then on top of that, we have all of the settings that we put in our ads. So that's going to be the campaign budgets and whether we want to use cost caps or, Advantage Plus, all these different things that go into creating the ad. That's going to be really important. So why don't we just quickly hop into Ads Manager, and we'll just kind of look at what some of these things might look like. All right, so here's Ads Manager. We're just kind of in a demo account, and let's just look at this campaign here. This was created with the agent itself, And you can see here we have a name for the campaign, and we have all these different settings. Now, if none of this is making sense to you, then we do suggest you learn a little bit more about Facebook ads. That's not what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to assume you already have some sort of process in place. But what I'm trying to highlight here is that there's a lot of different settings that we could be putting in here. And when you're creating your ads, you have to constantly make changes to your budgets. You got to change your, what kind of objective you have. Right? If you're going into the ad set, then you have to change perhaps what the performance goal is, or what your if you're using cost caps, what the cost per result is going to be, what your attribution settings are. Right, you've got your audiences that you have to set, and then in the ad, then you have which page you want to connect to, and then you have most importantly is your creative, right? So you've got the images you want to use, what kind of copy you're going to use in which places, right? You've got your headlines, you've got your description, your call to action, and then where you're going to take the customer if they click on it, right? So you've got your links, your tracking URLs, which events you're going to be tracking, URL parameters, right? So all of this is involved when you're creating the ads, and every time you create an ad, you have to set all of these things. It can take a lot of time is what I'm trying to say here. So what we've done here is we've actually built out a spreadsheet template to handle this, right? So if we go into this folder here, we've got this template sheet, which has 3 tabs. Once it loads up at the bottom, campaigns, ad sets, and ads. And we're going to pass these different variables, the different parameters settings that we're going to be using in the spreadsheet. So if you have 10 campaigns you want to create, you can just copy and paste into your spreadsheet, right? All the different campaigns you want to create, and then you can adjust them quickly in the spreadsheet. And then we're going to be using the Facebook Marketing API to then upload all of that via the agent. So that's our campaign settings, right? In this case, we're using cost caps, and then you're going to set your ad sets, right? So maybe you have, in this case, we have 2 ad sets, but maybe you have like 10 ad sets you want to create. Then you can adjust all the different settings you want directly in the spreadsheet. And then we refer back to the campaign that we're creating, right? So in this case, we have 2 campaigns. So we're just going to use the campaigns that we've set here. And then ads, right? So you're going to want to, let me clear this out. I'll explain what that is in a second. We have all of our different ads, ad settings as well, right? So what's the copy we're going to use? What's the pixels we're going to use? Which ad set are we going to place it in, right? So these ones have to match with the ad set names over here. And then there's these fields that I just deleted. And that's because we have to specify which image is going to go along with the copy involved on this for this ad, right? So each row is a different ad. And like we mentioned, right, you need to have an ad creative, an ad, right, image, right? So this is the image we're using in this ad, but you're going to want, whichever image you want to use. So how does this all work, right? So we've got in our Google Drive an images folder, and we've got these 2 images here, right? So in this case, this is just a thumbnail for a previous video we put out, and then this one is the logo. And what we're going to want to do is we need to create a hash for Facebook to refer to when we're creating the ad. And so that's why we've got this 2-step process here. The first step is to create the hashes from our images, and then we can create our ads. So hopefully that all makes sense. Essentially what we're saying here is in these spreadsheets, we do the preparation work, right? So instead of doing all the button clicking in Facebook, your preparation work's happening in the spreadsheet. And then when you tell the agent to go, it does all the button clicking for you. And it really does save a ton of time. So let's give it a shot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push this test workflow button. That's what allows us to start interacting with our agent. because we have this as inactive. So every time we want to talk to it, we'll just push the test button. And so let's say, please upload my images to Facebook and see what happens. Okay, you can see it's working, and you can see how it's working using the upload images tool, right? So now it's working through that workflow, and let's just give it a few moments here to finish up. Okay, it's done here. Now it's talking with the model. Okay, there we go. So now it says images have been successfully uploaded to Facebook. So we've got a couple links here. So let's see. We can look at our images, right? So it creates this sheet, and we have the test.png, right? So test.png and the prompted logo.png. So that's the two files that we uploaded, and it gives us a hash file. We also have this warning here. I'm just going to hit allow access. What that does is allows us to load up these images, so you can actually see the preview of the images that we uploaded to make it easier for when we paste it into our ads loader spreadsheet. So this is the spreadsheet we were looking at earlier. We need to actually provide the image hashes to connect to the ads. So now we can say this ad with this image corresponds with this this copy, right? So now we can have this ad set up entirely on our spreadsheet. And now that the spreadsheet is all ready, right, then we can move on to the next step. But, let's say you wanted to add more images, then you can upload more images. If you want to create more ads, then you can say, oh, well, I want to use this image and create 3 different versions of the ad with different copy. You can do that, right? You just create another row, just copy and paste this. You can use the same hash and just change the copy for that. But let's just keep it for these 2 ads for now. Okay, so now we can do the second step, right? Now we can create our ads. So let's just test the workflow again, and let's chat with our agent. So please create the Facebook ads now. Okay, so it's asking for a Google file ID, right? And so that's because each time you load up the ads, maybe you want to use a new template, so it needs to know which file you're looking at. So to get the file ID, you just come to the URL, grab the ID right there, and then let's just turn test workflow back on, and we can feed the agent our ID. Okay, it wants to make sure that we have added the hash images. We have done that. So we can tell the agent, please continue. Okay, now you can see it's working, right? It's working through the ad creation workflow here. So it's going to be creating the campaigns, the ad sets, and the ads based on what we've set up in the spreadsheet. You can see it's done now, so it's just working with the OpenAI model to create our response. And there we go. So we've got a response now. Let's just make this a little bit bigger so we can see everything that happened. So it says we've successfully created our ads. Here's the summary. We've got our campaigns, the 2 campaigns, right, based on the information that we've set there. We've got our 2 ad sets and our 2 ads. So we can just hop back into Ads Manager in Facebook. So let's just bring it back over. Let's just refresh. There you go. You can see here, we've got our name here. So let's just scroll over, double check when this was created. Okay, let's add the column in. Customize column. Okay, so we can see here March 6th at 5:43 p.m., which is right now. So you can see we created our two campaigns just now. So let's just select these two. We can look at our ads sets, right? So we can open this up. Let's just open this up. And we can see here we've got our different settings applied based on what we had in the spreadsheet. We can go to the ad, and you can see here that we've got our ad set up, right? With just the dummy text that we have, but also our image. And then the second ad that we created was with the logo here. So you can see here there's a, even just clicking around here, you can see there's just a little bit of slowness trying to like move from ad to ad. And when you have to make a whole bunch of ads every single day, just that little bit of lag does become quite frustrating because you want to move faster, but you can't. So that's why that's another reason why we have this agent here, because when you do it via the agent, right, it just creates all that. You can bypass all that button clicking, and all the setup happens directly in the spreadsheets. That's our agent in action. So now let's take a look at how we set it up. All right, so like we mentioned previously, we're using the Slack trigger to initiate everything working out here. So you have to set up your Slack credentials. We're not going to get into that right now. We'll put out another video on how to connect to Slack and Facebook and all the different credentials that you can set up for Shopify stores. But for now, we're just letting you know we're creating a Slack trigger. We set it up to based on bot mentions, and we're also looking at the channel, the specific channel that we've set it up in, which is this channel right here. Right, so there's an ID into the channel. You can see it at the very bottom there, which is the one we've placed here. Okay, so next we have our AI agent. So this is the guts of what's going on here, and we have we're grabbing the message from Slack, right? So there's the JSON.text, which is right here, right? So please continue. That's the last message that we had sent. Right here, right? Right here, please continue, right? So that's, you can see it's receiving that text. And then we have a system prompt. So this system prompt tells the agent what it does, what tools it has, and how to respond, right? So in this case, I'm not going to read this out, but you can pause and read it if you like. And but what we're saying here is we're saying we've got these two tools, right here. We've got the upload the images to Facebook, and we've got the creating the ads. And basically, I'm telling the agent what I told you earlier in this video, explaining what they're used for and when we want to use it. And then we also told the agent to verify, right? It's like if you are uploading images, verify with the user whether or not they've placed the images in the folder. Because let's say, for example, if I refresh this, you're going to see those images disappear. And that's because part of the process of what we did here is we said, once we've processed those images, we're going to move those images into this new folder, right? So that's actually part of the workflow. Now, if you forget to put the images in, it's just going to check with you. Hey, double check that you've done that. So we put some, we asked the agent to verify with you before initiating everything. Just because when you start using automation and you start to tell it to do a lot of things at once, any mistakes you make compound. So we're just trying to avoid that a little bit. Anyway, so we have our system prompt here, and we tell it to have the two tools, and then we have we ask the user, remind the user to double check everything, and then we put the output in place. Now the system prompt is just like prompting ChatGPT or Claude or whichever chatbot that you like to use. And sometimes you have a little bit of trial and error that you need to make in these prompts. to get it to work the way you want. So this is still a work in progress, but as you can see, it's still quite powerful on its own. So that's what we've done there. Next, we have the brain, right? So we have our OpenAI chat model. So we're using OpenAI for this. We're using the GPT-4o Mini, which is one of their cheaper models. You could use a smarter model. It does get more expensive. And if you prompt it well enough and you separate your tools well enough, like we've done here, 4o Mini is actually quite good. So as you can see in the little demo that we did earlier, it did what we needed to do. Okay, so next we have our two tools, uploading the images and creating the campaign. So let's start with uploading the images. You got quite a few different nodes here, so let's get into it. The first one is we're just triggering. We're just saying we're being triggered by an external workflow, right? So this is actually a sub workflow. This edit fields here is just for debugging purposes. You can ignore that. Okay, so first thing we're doing is we're creating an empty sheet for a list of images, right? So what we're doing here is we're creating this sheet that you can see here where we're going to place these images in. So this is a new sheet and it's been time stamped with the time it's being executed. And then next, we're going to be moving this new sheet to our folder, right? So if we don't move it, it's just going to sit in the main directory. But we actually want to put this into the image sheets folder right here. So you can see I've, through all my testing, I've done this a whole bunch of times. But the latest one that we did was right here. And then we moved it. Next thing we do is we're going to create the date processed folder, right? So that is the folder where we are going to be placing our process images afterwards, right? So this folder here, you can see how the images have been moved. That's what we're doing there. And then next, we're going to be listing all the files. So before processing, our images are actually in this folder. So we're going to be looking for the files in this folder. We're listing them out, and then we're going to download them and then call the Facebook Marketing API, which is using this call here. And we have to set it up so that we are passing the files that we've downloaded to the add images endpoint. Okay, so next we have a little code node, which is going to take the information here, and we're going to format it so that we only keep the file name, the hash, and the image preview, which we create a formula so that when it goes into the spreadsheet, we can actually create this little preview right here, right? So this is actually an Excel formula. It's equals image and then the URL. And then we've got some merging happening here, right? So we've got, we're taking our, the files that we got, and we're merging it with the hashes that we've now created, right? So now we can create items where we have the name, the file name, the hashes all combined together. And then we're deciding which fields we want to keep. So actually, this is probably not named all that well. Let's see. Good. We can call it prepare spreadsheet data. So we're just going to select the fields that we want to keep so that we can pass it to our spreadsheet. And then once that's been done, then we can move all of our files to the processed folder right here. And then we've got 3 streams of data coming out from different parts of our workflow. coming together, and then we aggregate it all together so that we get our spreadsheet ID, our spreadsheet URL, process images, ID and URL, and then the individual files themselves, right? So that is our upload images to Facebook workflow. Let's just save that. Now we also have another workflow here, which is how we create all of our campaigns, ad sets, and ads. And so we've kind of got three sections here. The first one is creating the campaigns, then we create the ads, and then we create the ad sets, and then the ads. And so first we get the ID, right? So remember when we were talking to the agent, we had to specify the file ID. So we're going to get that from the agent right here, and it's going to pass it to this first step. And this first step is going to be reading all of the information from the campaigns tab right here. All right, so we're going to grab this information here, and then we are going to pass that information to our Facebook endpoint to create campaigns, right? And so we need to have these different fields in place in order to create the campaign with the settings that we're looking for. So we set that up like this. Next, we have, we just rename the ID output. So the output is going to be considered ID. We just rename it, so that's just easier to track later on, because we're going to get IDs for the ad sets and the ads. So we're just doing that for more organization's sake. So we combine all that data, and then we do two things. We first pass it to this merge here, so it becomes part of the output, but we also pass it to the ad set portion of this workflow, which then does the same thing, right? It grabs the information from the ad sets tab right here, and it then we format the data a little bit and then combine it with our campaign data. Oops. There we go. Okay, so we combine it with our campaign campaign data using a little code here. So what we're doing is we're matching, right? So remember here, we're saying we want to use this campaign for this ad set. So the code here is just matching the campaigns that we've named to the campaign ID that we got when we generated it earlier. We call our Facebook ad API to create the ad sets, right? And so we have these different fields that we need to place in to put all the parameters in place to create the ad set the way we want. And then again, for organization's sake, we rename it to ad set ID, any IDs. And then similar to what we did up here with the campaigns, we do two things. We pass the information to be as part of the output to go back to the agent, and we also pass it along to the ads. And then again, we kind of follow the same sort of process. It's sort of like a waterfall where we read the ad data from the spreadsheet, right? We combine it with the ad sets, right? And then we match the ad sets with the ads, right? So that's, again, we name in the ads folder, we name the ad set we want to add it, but for the API to do it properly, we need to get the ad set ID. So that's what we're doing here is we're matching the ad set ID to the name. We're calling our, we have to do two calls for the ads for the marketing API, the Facebook API. First, we have to create the ad creative. So this is the call for the ad creative, creating all the different, using the different settings that we've set in our spreadsheet. And then we use that ad creative to create the ad itself. So that's just kind of what's happening on the back end. But effectively what you're doing is you're creating this ad right here, right? So what happens is there's this ad creative portion here actually is being created separately and then is being referenced when you create the ad, which is, this basically this whole window that I'm looking at right now. Okay, so we create the ad, we kind of configure the IDs a little bit, and then we format the data again and pass it back to the agent which receives it here, and then we can kind of go into our logs. So we can see here our output looks like this, right? So we've got our data, we've got our campaign data, we got our ad set data, and we got our ads data, right? So all three data are being passed. That's the 1, 2, 3 right here. And then ultimately, it comes back out into and summarized by our chat model, so that it goes into Slack and you can actually see what's been done. And then ultimately, it's been set to paused, or so that it doesn't just turn it on right away. I personally like to make sure that everything looks okay before we start our campaigns. If you've tested it, if you implement this agent and you tested it, then you can actually ask it to just turn them on right away. But if you're dealing with big budgets, sometimes you want to just take that extra little step to verify everything looks okay, and then you can turn it on manually yourself. And so actually that kind of leads us to the next topic here, which is what can we do next with this agent, right? So right now this agent only does two things. We are uploading images to Facebook, and then we're creating the ads and ad sets and campaigns. But there's so much more that we could be doing, and we can build new agents for this, or we can build on top of this agent. So for example, I just said that we want to manually turn on our ads. Maybe you want the agent to do it. You can still verify manually, but then you can add a tool, which is to turn on all the ads and ad sets that we've just created. So you could do that. Right now, we are kind of setting the parameters and the copy, right? So all this copy here is just placeholder, but you need, that's the guts of your ads. So maybe you want some help with creating different copy for these images. So we could create an agent that looks at the ad image and comes up with its own copy based on your own brand guidelines. So we could add that in as a tool into this AI agent, and it just starts to become your marketing pro by doing not just loading ads, but also coming up with your ads. And so that's all things that we can build on top of this. These AI agents, when you build them out, can really do a lot for you. And it's really amazing how much time you can save and how much more work you can get done with these things. So we're going to be looking at how to build out some more of those steps that I just mentioned, because we just need it for ourselves as well. So that's our Facebook ads loading agent, and I hope I've convinced you on how every Shopify store should have an agent like this helping out. Whether it's to load Facebook ads or to help with the marketing, regardless of what it is, you can see how powerful they are in saving you both time and money. Like I mentioned, we'll be building out more agents to help grow and scale your Shopify store, so subscribe to our channel and our free email newsletter to get the latest updates. But that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.